Welcome back. I'm Tony Perkins. This is Washington Watch. And again, the poll question for veterans only. Text the word radio, 53445. That's 53445. And here's what I want to know. What primarily motivated you to serve in the U.S. military? Was it a call to serve your country, family tradition, seeking opportunity, a desire for adventure, or some of the older guys were you drafted? So what was your primary motivation? I'd like to know. So take the poll question, veterans only, but really would like to hear from all our veterans. It gives us an idea how many veterans are actually out there listening to the program. I know we actually, and this includes active duty. You don't have to be just, you could be an active duty member. Radio, text the word radio to 53445. All right, attorney generals from 10 states have filed an amicus brief. I said in support of the Trump administration, I meant Trump campaign. In terms of the legal challenge in Pennsylvania. They've filed a friend of the court brief with the U.S. Supreme Court. Now, the question is, why are these leaders from other states getting involved in Pennsylvania? Well, let's find out. Joining me now to answer that question and more is the Attorney General for the state of Louisiana, my home state, my good friend Jeff Landry. Jeff, welcome back to the program.
Tony, it is always a pleasure to be with you, and again, my thanks to all of the veterans that are out there, and also not only the veterans, but their families, right? Because it is the families who partake in as much of the sacrifice as many of our veterans have as well. So thank you again for having me on the show. Absolutely.
The families, it's a family commitment. Sometimes the families are overlooked. All right, let me get into the facts of this. You were a part of 10 state attorneys generals filing this amicus brief to urge the Supreme Court of the United States to look into this case and to reverse the Supreme Court of Pennsylvania. And explain why this action taken by the Pennsylvania Supreme Court could foster or aid voter fraud and why you've stepped in.
Well, we stepped in because basically the Pennsylvania Supreme Court has violated the U.S. Constitution. To kind of explain this in some layman's terms, it's pretty simple. The U.S. Constitution spells out the way that the president is going to be elected in this country. In other words, it sends that responsibility through the Constitution to state legislatures in setting out the time, place, and manner of the elections. And so that basically the U.S. Constitution said, listen, state legislatures will set those out in the election of the President of the United States. The Pennsylvania General Assembly spelled out some ways under which mail ballots were going to be allowed inside of Pennsylvania and said that those ballots had to be received by 8 p.m. The Pennsylvania Supreme Court said, we don't really like that text, and we think that maybe we should grant another 3 days for those ballots to come in. That's not the job of the courts, and that's consistently what we've been seeing over the last decade after decade of these courts coming in and substituting themselves as the legislature, and that's the problem. And so we decided that we needed to weigh in because we believe that is problematic and affects states around the country as well in the selection of the president.
So that's the reason. Obviously you're concerned about the Constitution being violated, but other states have skin in the game. If as close as this election is, if one state has rules that are broken or not enforced, allowing that state to go one way in the election, it could deprive the other states of fair representation if it tilts the balance of the election and the outcome.
That's correct. And what we have seen are a number of irregularities that have occurred or information that we're receiving from around the country. And, what I don't understand is that I didn't know where, and I read the Constitution again last night, I didn't see anywhere in the Constitution under which the Constitution offers the mainstream media the authority and the responsibility for calling elections. And therein lies the problem. I think that it is imperative that in today's world where the country is so divided that we ensure that the one thing we're united on is is the way that we perform our election duties. And if there are irregularities, we need to vet those out.
Well, now, the media has repeatedly said voter fraud is extremely rare, that it doesn't exist, that this is all made up.
Well, if you can look in the brief that we file, we show actual modern day, very recent incidents in Missouri under which mail balloting created fraud that was actually caught. And you know, interestingly enough, the Presidential Commission that was created after the Bush v. Gore case and led by Jimmy Carter, Democrat former President Jimmy Carter, led by him, signed off. Their report said that mail balloting is problematic and should be, at a minimum, curtailed, if allowed at all.
So when you look at, and I've read the brief and I've seen the cases that are cited, and now we've got dozens and dozens, actually into the hundreds now, of sworn affidavits of voter irregularities in this election cycle. It's extremely important from my perspective, and I would think you would agree, and I'm going to ask you if you agree or not, that we have confidence that the outcome, whether we like it or not, but we can trust the results. Because if we can't trust the results, we'll never accept the outcome, in my view.
Well, that's correct. And you know what's amazing is that we spent 4 years with the Democratic Party complaining about the outcome of the last election, yet offered no litigation to clear up any discrepancies they thought other than trying to impeach the president. I think that this is a very different story. When you look around the country voted right. I mean, we picked up almost a dozen seats in the House of Representatives. We kept all of the legislatures Republicans were in control of, picked up an additional 3, and yet for some reason we've got a problem at the top of the ticket. You know, again, the math just doesn't add up, and that's what I think we need to vet out.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. I mean, that's the story we've been telling folks because they've not heard it in the media, that the Republicans, the conservatives, I should say, picked up quite a bit across the country. I mean, within striking distance of the majority in the House. So, Jeff Landry, as always, great to have you on the program. Thanks so much for stopping by.
Thank you.